Valentine's Day, and in the interest of those who have joined the call already, we will get going straight away. The recording will obviously be available after today's session. So today I'm joined by Tyron out of the US, and some of you on the call today or watching this recording may already be clients of mine and Lawrence's, or be prospective clients of ours who've already met with Tyron to discuss the program and the qualifying investment options. But if you haven't joined us on a private session or a webinar previously, today will be a great introduction for you to all things EB5, and we will be showing you one of the most attractive qualifying options for the program, with a financing option of up to 300,000 US dollars of the required 800,000 capital, bringing down your capital requirements to 500,000 USD. And it's also worth noting that this capital can be returned in just 3 years. So as you can hear, a very unique option and offering for the program. And just two more notices: the chat box will be open for any questions that you have during the presentation. We'll obviously answer those at the end of the session. Please feel free to also contact me directly should you have any burning questions after the session. And lastly, just a reminder that this webinar is not intended as, nor does it constitute personal financial, tax, legal, or investment advice. Please ensure to speak to us on a one-on-one basis for your personal financial planning. So without any further delay, I'll hand over to you, Tyron, to tell us a bit more.
Hi, thanks for inviting me today, and thanks for everyone for joining, wherever you might be in the world. I really do appreciate it. As was introduced, I'm going to talk a bit about the EB5 program today, kind of the process and the benefits, as well as a specific project located in New Jersey, very near New York City, as well as what the costs and the investments amounts are. So let me bring up a presentation quickly and share with you. It's first just a little bit about what our company does. It's all right. Our company's name is, we're a division of Holborn Assets. The Immigration and Citizenship division is called Holborn Pass. And as I said today we'll talk about the EB5 program, but just quickly, we do offer a wide range of immigration programs. We offer several citizenship programs where you can obtain citizenship and a passport within less than a year for around $100,000. We offer European residency programs or golden visas through property investment, and we also offer a few other U.S. programs. So if the U.S. isn't the exact fit for you, I'm sure we can find a program somewhere in the world that will meet your needs. So the EB5 program, people often ask, what does EB5 stand for? That means it's an employment-based number 5 immigration investor program. It leads to permanent residency, which is often called a green card. That's kind of the casual term for it in the U.S. They call it a green card because after you become a permanent resident, you actually get a little green card. So, but people do ask that. So it's, like I said, this is not it's not a temporary visa. It's not a work permit. This is full permanent residency that then eventually leads to citizenship if you so choose to become a citizen after 5 years. The U.S., is a country made up of immigrants. Every year, between 1.5 and 2 million people immigrate to the U.S. legally. That's more than every other country in the world combined. It's how many immigrants we accept. So there's a lot of different ways to immigrate to the U.S. And, there's programs set up for people to get here pretty quickly and legally. Today, we're going to talk about what I think is the EB5 program, which is really one of the, if you have the money, as we'll discuss, it's probably the fastest, easiest way to get to America. The program's been around since 1990, so this isn't some new program dreamed up by the government. It's a very stable program. It's been 34 years. Jeez, I'm getting it. And I've been doing it for 15 years. So time flies. It is a very interesting program. It's stable. The number of people who participate in it has grown a lot over the years. I started back here in about 2007 when there was just less than 1,000 people, participating in the program every year, less than 1,000 families, and kind of rode this huge wave up, till the mid-teens, when I can remember in China there was about 14,000 Chinese families a year doing it, and it was really an incredible time. Since then, they've restructured the program a bit. In March 2022, they kind of relaunched kind of a revised program. Now, the biggest change to the program was they raised the price. So, you might have looked around on the internet, or you might have had friends who've done EB-5 over the years, and you might have heard that it was $500,000 investment. The biggest change, or the most noticeable change that they made, is in 2022, they raised the minimum investment amount to $800,000. And that is, you have to invest that money into a rural area, into an area that has less than 20,000 people, or into an area of high unemployment. The government wants you to invest in these areas to kind of stimulate these local economies that may not see as much investment as other areas of the U.S. So there's not a lot of requirements for the U.S. program, as we'll discuss, but probably the most important requirement is you do have to show where you got the $800,000. Did you make it through your job? Did you through investments? Did you sell a house or real estate? Did you inherit the money from your parents or grandparents? All these ways are fine, but you do have to show where you got the money and that it was legally obtained. And other than that, that's really the only requirement on your side. Now, there is a requirement for job creation, where each $800,000 investment must create 10 jobs. But I'll discuss this a little bit later on. This is really our responsibility, or our partners, I should say, our partners' responsibility, in that when you invest with our partners, they're out there creating these jobs. They're very experienced at doing it. They have a team of lawyers and economists that measure the economic impact of the investments. And, the project we'll show you today, they actually create 10 times more jobs. So for every investor. So they're going to create 100 jobs for your investment. So there's more than enough jobs available for you to qualify. Let's move on. But to go along with some, what some of the requirements are beyond just the capital investment, is you can include your spouse and your unmarried children under the age of 21, and they do have to be under 21. It's a pretty strict cutoff. But as long as you can get the petition in while they're under age 21, their age gets locked in there. So if you have a child who's still 20, and you really want to do it as a whole family, there's still time, right? You can still get in, but we have to move quickly. There's a very fast processing time too. As I mentioned, this is one of the fastest programs. Under the new program, there's families get approved in probably less than 12 months. And if you invest into certain projects, it can even be 6 to 8 months. One of the most important changes, or interesting changes, I think, for a lot of people who might already be living in the U.S., if you're in the U.S. on an H-1B visa or work visa, if you're a student, is that this is very exciting. This is, I always say that rarely do governments make immigration programs better. They tend not to improve them. They tend to tighten them down and give less benefits. But this is one case where the U.S. government really did improve the program. So if you're living in the U.S. currently and you file your EB-5 petition, you can then apply basically for all the same benefits as a green card holder. That means within just a couple, and you'll get those benefits within just a couple months. So that means if you're a student in the U.S. and you submit your EB-5 petition, in just a couple months, you'll be able to work anywhere you'd like. If you're graduating, you can take any job you'd like, travel in and out of the U.S. as much as you like, and basically enjoy all the benefits of a green card holder rather than having to wait, that full year to get an approval. Again, the benefits of being a green card holder or permanent residence, you can live and work anywhere in the U.S. And with the EB-5 program, you don't have to manage your own business. You don't have to live near the investment. The investment we have today is in New Jersey or New York City area. But if you want to live in California, that's perfectly fine. You do not have to be involved with the day-to-day construction of the project or management of the project. The U.S. is still the world's largest economy, and just beyond all the economic opportunity that you have, there's a lot of jobs in the U.S., a lot of high-paying jobs, and that's it. They're very high-paying jobs here. I mean, people say, well, it's costs more to live in America, which is true, but the potential to make more money in America is really pretty incredible. As somebody, I've spent about 20 years living overseas in many different emerging economies and booming economies. And, I've relocated back to the US in the last couple of years, and it really does blow me away, actually, just at the opportunities in the US and the amount of capital available to start businesses or jobs, and that, the way you can get a job and kind of move up in the career ladder very quickly. Along with that, I think the U.S. still has one of the best education and healthcare systems in the world. And one of a major benefit, if you are thinking about education for your children, is that if you're a permanent resident of the U.S. and you become a local resident, you have to become a state resident somewhere. So you become a resident, say, in New York or in California, your children will enjoy they'll enjoy free public education from kindergarten through high school, but at university level, they'll get local tuition rates, which, in a state like California, if you look at a school like UCLA, a very famous school, you'll save about $30,000 a year in tuition, bringing, the tuition cost down to like, $10,000 to $15,000. Whereas if you're an international student, that cost is going to be around 35,000 plus. So, if you have a single kid, you're saving 30,000 a year. That's about $120,000 per year. If you have 2-3 kids, you're going to save $200,000-$300,000 on your children's education. Which, when you kind of do a cost benefit analysis of investing $800,000, just think about you're actually going to make money or save money, I should say, not necessarily make money, but you'll save considerable amounts of money on your children's education. And there's no language requirements. A lot of programs, say in Canada or Australia, even investment programs require you to speak English or French. There is no language requirement for the U.S. And you are investing, and this is an investment. This isn't a government donation, or you are investing this money, and like any investment, you should get your money returned. And typically, you get your money back in 3 to 5 years. So it's a substantial investment, but it's only for in the case we'll look at today, 3 years. It doesn't require much else. I mean, you can carry on with your job and your business in South Africa. If you're busy there, you don't have to spend. You don't have to live full time in the U.S., right? You can come and go as you'd like. Of course, you're going to want to spend time in the U.S., but you're not, necessarily required to pick up your whole life and move immediately to America right away. So you can manage your businesses or keep your job in your home country. Okay. Now a little bit on the technical side of how the immigration process works. So, I guess step one would be, you'd sign up with Holborn Pass. We would help you complete forms, gather documents. You would also be working with an immigration lawyer by this point, and they'd begin sourcing your funds. Looking at how you made your money, gather a lot of documentation. There's a fair amount of documentation, but it's manageable, and I'd say it usually takes 2 to 3 months for most people to get their documentation together. At that point, step number 2, we file what's called an I-526E form, and that's just it's just a fancy bunch of numbers for just that we're filing your immigration petition, your green card petition. Now, typically, Approval times can be between 6 months and a year. And once you get approved there, you have 6 months to move to travel to the U.S. and actually get your green card in the U.S. And at that point, also, you have what's called a 2-year conditional green card. Now, the conditional green card is this. Why is it conditional? The USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, wants to see that you keep your money invested for at least 2 years, that you hold your investment, and also that you created the jobs that are required. But there's no conditions on what you can do with your green card. So you have all the same rights as any green card holder. You can travel out of the U.S., go to school, kids can go to school for free, take any job you'd like. And then after 2 years, I don't want to say it's a formality, but it's typically the jobs have all been created. The lawyers will submit your I-829, the form to USCIS, and they will remove your conditions, and you'll have a full permanent green card, and you're also on track for U.S. citizenship if you'd like. It takes 5 years to become a U.S. citizen, and that actually starts right when you get your first initial approval. So the 5-year clock starts ticking to become a U.S. citizen. And that's really about it. Again, why I say this is a pretty fast and easy program is that you can get approval in, say, less than a year, which is really incredible for anybody who's ever tried to go through the immigration process. That's really fast. It's got to be one of the fastest programs in the world. And two, it doesn't require a lot. You don't have to work at a job. You don't have to manage a business. You don't have to spend 2 years living in America without leaving. You don't have to prove your residence. There's really no real hard requirements once you've made the investment. Of course, you've done the hard part. You've earned the $800,000. So that's the challenging part. But once you've done that, the investment and the EB-5 process is pretty simple. All right, I'm going to bring up a specific EB-5 project now because I know people go, okay, this sounds fine, but I did work hard for the $800,000, and I want to make sure it's going into a legitimate business where that will qualify for EB-5 and that will also return my money. So let me just quickly switch over here to the other project. I just want to double check that if you can see my new screen that says Summit. Thumbs up. Okay, great. Okay, so this program is called Summit. It's located in the state of New Jersey. Although it's in the state of New Jersey, it's really part of New York City. It's literally what they call just across the river. It's luxury apartments, and you can literally see the World Trade Center from these apartments. So it's really part of the New York City metropolitan area. New Jersey is kind of an area where a lot of New York City, it's an island. Manhattan is an island, so there's not much space there. People kind of move across to some of these other areas surrounding it. It's a very large project. It'll be 1,723 units with 4,500 square feet of retail and entertainment space. And this project is being managed by actually my first partner in EB-5. So we started together. They now have 5,200 investors, and I was there at one investor. So we started together 14 years ago. They're a really incredible group called the US Immigration Fund. They have more than 4,600 I-562 approvals. That's the initial green card, 750 829 approvals, and more on the way, right? It's a timing issue. So it's not that some of these people aren't getting approved. It's just they're all in the process. They have invested more than nearly $3 billion in EB-5 capital, and most importantly, they've repaid $750 million in EB-5 capital, and obviously more to come. This is just kind of where people are at in the States. So there's not another EB-5 management group or what we call regional center that has done this amount of business and that has got this many approvals, has returned this much capital to investors. And that's important because you can see a track record, right? They've done it 5,000 times, and I expect they could do it another few thousand times. So I think that that's important. They're a substantial company. They have probably 50 employees working there, just in client services and also just managing the investments. So there's a lot of other groups out there, but there's just not another one that's the substantial. That period. And being the most substantial EB5 group in America, they also work with some of the most substantial real estate partners in America. So this particular project that we're showing is being built by the Kushner family. The Kushner family is one of the largest and most established real estate groups in the U.S., particularly in the northeast in New York and New Jersey. They have 25,000 rental apartments, 2.2 million of retail space. The question will probably come up. If the name sounds familiar, it probably does. Jared Kushner, the CEO of the company, is actually married to Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump. So, although they're not, the Trumps are not associated with this project, but oftentimes the name will probably ring a bell. So again, they're a very established real estate company, one of the most respected in all of the U.S. and and they've done EB5 before. This is a project we successfully executed about 10 years ago. Where there was $50 million in EB5. It was fully repaid by the Kushner family early. In fact, back then, I think the loan was going to be for 5 years, and they paid it back in less than 5 years. So we know that they know how to. They're familiar with the EB5 program. They know how to complete projects and return money to investors. That's critical. All right. Oops. Sorry about that. Again, a little bit about the apartments. This is phase 2. So they've already built a tower. They're going to build a second tower of apartments here. You see, it's a large project. But, it's already basically under construction, and it is under construction. And there's already, a proven successful demand for the project. I'm going to I'll go quickly through these very beautiful renderings of what the apartments will look like. It's nice. It's a really nice bowling alley. I didn't realize that was a bowling alley. Wow. Very different than the bowling alleys I played. It'll have a Target and CVS and Starbucks on the ground floor. Target and CVS are both two of the largest retailers in the U.S. About jobs, I mentioned that jobs are very important to the process. So quickly, some people ask, well, you have to create jobs. How does this project create, jobs for all the investors? And the thing is, we don't have to create actual people jobs. It's not like we have to go out there and hire 10 people who work for you. We use something called an economic impact study, basically, where they say, okay, if you invest, in this case, this project will be investing $1 billion into this area. It'll create this many jobs. The money ripples out through the economy, and they say that this job will actually create 6,000 jobs, whereas we only need about 600 jobs for every EB5 investor to get their conditions removed on their green card. So again, it's not that there's going to be, you're going to have 10 employees that you're going to be able to count out there and say, oh, those are my 10 employees. It's that when you invest money into a region or into a city, into a neighborhood, that money goes out. Maybe they're investing into this apartment building, but this creates jobs, by people delivering construction materials. The restaurants down the street then benefit because there's more people living there. There's more kids going to school, so there's more jobs for teachers, and it ripples out. And we have very good economists write these studies, and it's completely accepted by the USCIS. And I've honestly never seen an issue as long as the projects are built and completed. As long as the money is invested, you get credit for your jobs. So again, there's lots of jobs. They've already created a lot of jobs. So they've already created 851 jobs or 61 jobs, which is actually more than enough for all the EB-5 investors already. So in this sense, that you're investing to a project that's already created enough jobs to get your green card. The project has been filed with the US CIS, which just means that they've reviewed it. They say it qualifies. And so again, so that you know that it is a qualified program. It is in an area of high unemployment, which TEA stands for Targeted Employment Area. So we have a letter saying this is an area of high employment, therefore it does qualify for the $800,000 EB-5 investment. This is a big project. It's more than $1 billion. EB-5 makes up just a small amount, just $50,400,000. So it's only 4.6% of the entire project. Why this is important is that the project is basically fully funded by AIG, one of the largest financial institutions in the world, and also Related, which is a really large American development company and an investment company. And so the project is what you'll see is being built. It's essentially funded. So they're not waiting for EB-5 money. There's not a question of, well, what if they don't have enough money to finish the project? The EB-5 money is just going to be able to free up a bit of equity and capital for the developers so that they can move on and probably start another project. And I just want to show a picture of the construction. This is an actual photo. It topped off. Topped off means they've hit the top of the building. They built it all the way up, and then it's just kind of finishing it off on December 15th, 2023. So, that means the project is well under construction. Again, it's financed. They have a construction completion guarantee in place, which basically means they have an insurance policy that they must finish the project on budget and on time. And you see they're moving along. In fact, they're even 5 months ahead of schedule. So let's see, they'll probably complete the project in 2026, be completed. So, and at that point, they'll probably refinance or sell the project and repay the EB-5 investors. Again, a company as substantial as the Kushner Group, they have a lot of options, a lot of connections in the finance world to be able to repay the your investment after 3 years, which is fantastic. There's not a lot of groups out there that have this sort of this substantial that are able to repay companies, or I'm sorry, repay investors in 3 years. So just to kind of wrap things up here, summarize some of the highlights. You've got world-class sponsorship and EB-5 groups, the Kushner family and the U.S. Immigration Fund. They've worked together. The U.S. Immigration Fund has thousands of successful cases and thousands of investors have received their money back. You also get to invest into a real premium location. Jersey City is, people in Jersey City wouldn't say they're part of New York City, but it's part of the New York City metropolitan area. You can literally see New York City from these apartments. It's under construction, well on its way to being completed. It's fully leased, so all the commercial space is leased out. So this project is really put together, and it's it's almost fully capitalized to finish the whole entire project. There's a lot of jobs that have already been created, and more will be created. And we're USCIS compliant. It's in a qualifying area, so it checks all the boxes. But I think one of the most interesting things about this project, other than just being a really high quality real estate project, is that I'm going to have to switch screens one more time, is how you can finance it. So let me see here. Now, as we mentioned, Price went up. It'd been 500,000. The EB5 investment had been 500,000 for 20, 30 years, and in 2022 they raised the amount to $800,000. $300,000 is $300,000. It's a lot of money. You might be able to get $500,000 together, but maybe not a full 800,000, or maybe you get $400,000 or 500,000, or you get $500,000 together fairly quickly, but it might take you 1 or 2 more years to get that other 300,000. Maybe you have to sell a property. So what we've devised is a way to kind of expedite the process, the investment processing, and maybe take some of the financial burden off of you and your family. So let's look at the entire cost of an EB5 investment, because there are other fees. There are other fees associated with it. So let's just look at the full cost of an EB5 investment to be as transparent as possible, because there's a fair amount of fees. Okay, the biggest fee, of course, is the $800,000 investment. Along with that, there's something called a project subscription fee. That's $80,000. This is a fee that's charged by all regional centers, not by Hobart. It's charged by the US Immigration Fund and the investment groups to basically finance. Basically this money is how they sustain their company. Because one of the great things about EB5 is that your money is going into the investment. So your $800,000 all of it has to go into the investment. It can't go out for commissions. It can't go out for the developer's new car or yacht, or it can't. And a third-party accounting firm actually monitors this money. So all of your money goes into this project. That's why there is a subscription fee that basically allows our partners at the U.S. Immigration Fund to manage your investment for the next 3 years, right? To manage your immigration process, and also make sure the investment's going fine, and make sure that you get your permanent green card as well as your money back. Holborn charges a $10,000 service fee. Government fees for a family of 4 are going to be a bit under $10,000. Although, I do want to mention that this is a big deal, pretty big deal. Starting on April 1st, government fees are going to go up a fair amount, like about $10,000 up. Like, it's pretty substantial. So if you're considering EB5 and you want to save a bit of money, if you can get started on it now, I would definitely do it, because I'm not sure why the government's raising fees. I guess just like everything else, prices are going up, but it doesn't mean that the processing times are going to improve or anything. So I'm just saying it's just going to be another expense. So if you can get started now, it's going to save you a bit of money. And then the lawyer fees, and you do hire an independent lawyer. You work directly with them. You pay the lawyer. We receive no commissions from lawyers or referral fees. Is typically around $20,000. So, and then what we're going to do is our partners have a lender who will lend you $300,000 of the $800,000. So you will only have to come up with $500,000. So it's going to bring the total, I guess, cash out of pocket to basically get your EB5 case filed to about $620,000. Timelines look like this. When you sign up, you pay the Holborn fee, and you pay a legal fee, the lawyer's fee. So you need about $30,000 on sign up. It'll take about 3 months to gather your documents. You would transfer $500,000 to an escrow account in the U.S., to a third-party escrow account, and then the lender will transfer $300,000 additional dollars to that account until you get the full $800,000. So you are still making an $800,000 investment. We must be very clear about that. And it is a loan, but it all comes from a third-party escrow account that's held there, and then they release the money into the project. At that time, you also pay the subscription fee, administration fee, and then also the government fees, which should be somewhere around $5,000 at this time. I'd say in less than 1 year, it's kind of an older document. In less than 1 year, you should have your green card approved, and after 21 months, you would pay the final government fee of $3,835 conditions removed. So this takes you all the way through the full green card process. So there's a fair amount of fees involved. It's it's a fairly expensive program, but this is why we've tried to reduce the burden of the investment by having a lender loan you $300,000. This loan is, what do I want to say? You can repay it early, so you're not locked in. There is an interest payment on the loan, but you don't have to make that interest payment. You can let it accrue, and then when they return the $800,000, the lender will return your $500,000 minus any interest payment to you. So there's no origination cost with this loan. There's no extra hidden fees. They basically put $300,000 in. You're not going to have to pay any interest on it. You pay any interest that accrued at the very end when they're returning your capital. So it's fairly low risk, and it helps kind of get you started. And for a lot of people, maybe they don't even want to keep the $300,000 for all 3 years. Maybe they just need it for a year or so to kind of speed up the process. So they can do this and then repay the loan, so they don't have any more interest to pay. But it's a really interesting option. I don't think there's really any other groups doing that, and certainly no groups doing it that are substantial as the groups that we've been we're working with, the Kushner Group and the U.S. Immigration Fund. So I think I've said a lot. I think that's a lot of information, and I'm going to take a break and let you ask some questions, whether it's about the EB-5 program, the investment real estate project, or about the costs and or financing option with EB-5.
Tyron, before we let you take a break, a question that often comes up when we discuss the financing option with clients is, but do we have to take the finance? If we like the project, can we do it without the finance route? So if you just want to speak to that a little bit.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. I didn't mean to assume that everybody did that. No, absolutely. Do the 800,000. They're happy to take the full 800,000. I always like to say, remember, you're investing $800,000 in this project, whether you take the financing option or not. I mean, we want to be sure of that. But no, you're not required to take the financing option. It's really just for if you need to, or if you want to. If you have 500,000 available today and want to get moving, it really is a good opportunity.
Great. And then just before we come up on time, one other question that again comes up often for clients: is this the only project that we have? Do we have anything else on offer? Not that this isn't a good project. Obviously, some clients are looking for something a little bit different in terms of return, etc. Sure,
we do. I try not to offer 20 different projects because there are a lot of EB-5 projects out there. But there's only a few that really kind of meet my criteria at this point, and for as long as I've been in the business. That's what I want to see people I want to see investment groups that have been in the industry for at least 10 years, have a proven track record, have got people green cards to return money to investors. I mean, to me, I think it's, life is full of risks, and let's try to minimize risks. Investments are full of risks. Let's try to minimize investment risks. So, yeah, we do have other projects. I try to keep kind of offer a different type of variety. There's a lot of real estate projects. So out on the market, we offer another project in West Texas in the oil and gas industry, which I know a lot of Holborn clients are in the oil and gas business. It's a very interesting project. It's an $800,000 investment, but it happens to have a very good return on investment. In fact, it will return $200,000 on your $800,000 in 3.5 years. So you invest $800,000, 3.5 years later, you get $1 million back. So that's pretty cool. If you have the money, you can kind of contrast with this project. If you have 500,000, that's what you have. And 300,000 is going to be hard to get. This is a great opportunity. You're going to invest with a great company. You're going to get your green card, and you're going to get your money back. If you have a bit of extra money and want to make money on your EB-5 investment, then this project in Texas is a good one. Where you'll actually make a couple $100,000 on your investment. So those are two of the key projects. We have another nice project in California, a real estate project that's quite nice. Oh, one thing I would mention about the Texas project is it also has it's in a rural area, so they even get a little faster processing time, down to about 6 months, typically for a project in that area. So it's something to keep in mind. So we try to kind of bring up, have a few different projects for you to choose from, but all the projects have been vetted. Everyone working on these projects have been around for a long time. But as I say, I love all my children equally, but they're all a little bit different. So it's really what's going to best suit your needs, and also whichever you think will allow you to get started as soon as possible. Beyond just that April 1st government fee increase, this is a process. It takes time, So I've had a lot of clients over the years who waited a year, put it off, and I've never heard one person say, "I wish I'd waited longer." Those people who wait a year, they go, "Wow, I wish I'd started last year." No one ever says, "I wish I'd waited another year." So just keep that in mind, because it's going to take time. I mean, we're talking periods of years. So get started as soon as you can. It's a good program. The U.S. government did a nice job revamping the EB-5 program. I mean, raising the price wasn't great, but it's the sign of the times, I guess. And but they're processing applications. This is the opportunity to get into America if you want to. I do believe America will always accept immigrants. We accept a lot, but this is certainly a very special program to get to the U.S. So consider it.
Amazing. Tyron, thank you so much for your time today. And if anyone watching the recording on the session today has any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to myself or to Tyron directly, and we'll be happy to set up a conversation where we dig into it in a little bit more technical detail, even than this. Yes, there is more technical detail, and we'll set those sessions individually. Thanks, Tyron.
All right. Have a nice morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.